Welcome to Scoop Brothers Tuesday. We got the reveal today. We also have some portal news. Cam Ward seems to be the leading guy, but here's some other guys that Ryan Day is targeting in the portal. I think the transfer portal for the Buckeyes, as of this moment, is closed. I think the guys are going to go through spring practice. I got a lot of intel from what is going on in the Woody Hayes right now. These guys are practice up on Friday, so we're going to get into all of that. But first, as always, we appreciate you guys. If you guys have questions, hit that super chat button. We will answer the questions immediately as the super chats come in. Those have been fantastic. So thank you guys for patronizing the channel. Also, if you enjoy this content, please click like, click subscribe, click that little alert bell, and we will get this thing cranked up, ready to roll. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Going to get right to Nevadabuck, Nevada. It seems like the portal, I don't want to say it's closed. I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to speak in absolutes because I'm not a Sith. But it seems like most of the guys that were going to jumped yesterday. They begin practice on Friday. So I think that some of the guys that might have been on the fence are going to stick around for bowl practice and just see if their standing on the team has changed, if they're getting more reps, if they've moved up from third to second team or second to first team or whatever. Or maybe they want to get some film in the bowl game. How are you feeling about the portal? Do you feel like Ohio State has lost the initial wave of guys, and if there are more guys that are going to enter, it'll either be after a few bowl practices where maybe promises weren't met, or after the bowl game. But we didn't have any enter today, and there were some guys that I was looking for to see if they'd make a decision. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think some of it's NIL dependent. Some of it's just dependent on kind of just the natural ebb and flow, as you said, of how things go with practice, where they see themselves on the depth chart. I mean, look, these guys are making business decisions, and from an Ohio State standpoint right now, I mean, having Kyle enter the portal was kind of seismic, but I think we all feel like that we can do as well, or maybe upgrade that position, and maybe it forces us into an uncomfortable spot of doing something that we wouldn't have done ordinarily, and maybe that's a net positive. Everybody else really kind of fell in the category of would have liked to have, but well, wish them well. And so, no, I think Ohio State's well positioned right now. And do I think it's done? Yeah, like you said, it's hard to say that because, man, the moment we say that, then four of the guys will jump in the portal, and so you just never know with this. But from everything that I'm hearing, I think that Ohio State's negotiating some NIL situations, kind of refining some NIL situations for some people, making sure some guys are taken care of, especially guys that are currently on the team that they want to have stay on the team. And I think Ohio State's in pretty good shape. So pretty pleased, all in all things considered.
Yeah, what's going on in the Woody Hayes right now, folks, is that there are a lot of players that are curious as to their standing on the team. Not obviously guys not starters, and there's some guys that are on the fence about jumping to the NFL. Ryan Day has been busy. He's been on the phone talking to parents. He's been talking to players. And the thing about Ryan is he wants to win this game. He wants to win this game more than anything. Send the older guys out on the right note. He is not going to talk NIL with any of these guys because some of these guys are showing up and they want a number, a demand. And Ryan's not doing that. He wants to beat Missouri, and if we beat Missouri, then we'll talk NIL. But he is not doing that right now. So some guys that were told some fuzzy numbers by other programs that have been tampering with them are literally walking out of Ryan's office like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get anything from NIL here. And it's because Ryan's focused on the game. He wants to beat Missouri. If we beat Missouri and you play well, or you're a good teammate or whatever, and you want some NIL money, then it'll get doled out. But he's not negotiating with anybody. He really wants to be a Buckeye. I think that's the correct move. I don't think that you want to promise a guy money and then he doesn't have a good bowl game, or he dips out after the game, or whatever. So it's really an interesting time in the Woody Hayes. I think there's a lot of guys who frankly didn't get the draft grades that they were hoping they'd get. There's some guys that I think preseason in their mind were going to jump to the NFL, and they did not get the grades they wanted. Again, we hire Rick Spielman. Rick Spielman's the GM. He was with the Vikings for a long time, and he has a service, and he met with every single draft eligible junior and redshirt sophomore to tell them this is where you're projected to go. And he's pretty accurate because he's got a good slew of GMs that he talks to. And, he's not there to be a buddy or to be a fanboy. He's there to give them direct, this is what you need to get better at. You have to be better with your hands. You got to be better in pass protection. You got to run better routes. Like whatever feedback that he gets from his network is really legitimate stuff. And I think that that's a fantastic move by Ryan Day, because I think that, when you're a guy, I had a decision after my junior stay or go. I got a 3rd round grade, stayed. And again, it was just one of those things where, you always want to improve it. And I always think if guys are on the fence, they should stay. I was glad I stayed. I had a fun senior year. It was a great senior year. You can't project that you're going to, get injured in a bowl game. Like I got injured in the Senior Bowl. It is what it is. But I think that, staying for your senior year never hurts, and it shows maturity. Some guys that stay for their senior year could be a captain. So there's some guys that got to make a decision. There's some guys that I think, preseason would have thought there's no way they'd be back, and they're back. So it'll be interesting to see. Another little word that I got today is the defensive side of the ball thinks there's going to be more guys playing than initially projected. I know a lot of people go to doomsday when you're not in a playoff game, and some of these kids might want to take off, and some of these kids want to sit out the bowl game. But we don't have many guys that are like top notch, first round guys on defense. I think JT got a 2nd round grade, Jack Sawyer got a 2nd, 3rd round grade, Tyleek, Mike Hall, 2nd, 3rd round grade. So those guys all benefit from playing and kicking butt versus Missouri, because I think a lot of these guys want to see, how do you finish your careers? Do you put a good bowl game on film? So I think that I think our defense is gonna be stronger than some would project. Now I say that, and they could all sit out the game tomorrow, but I think guys are leaning towards playing just because it's hard to go out in your career with a loss to Michigan. Like it's kind of a sour taste, and like Missouri, like they're not juggernauts on the offensive line. So, if you think you can tee it up and let it fly, I think it's worth playing. Nevada, we haven't really talked much about opt-outs and draft eligibility. I think that's going to come in the next week. I think guys like Marvin Harrison are going to declare, and Mecca declare. Trey is a really weird one, because I don't think there's any chance he stays. But I mean, I've gotten word that he's considering staying. It doesn't make any sense, because I think if there's ever a position that should leave, it's running backs, because they don't really get big second contracts. But what are your thoughts on what the roster will look like for the Cotton Bowl?
No, I said last night, I think the story of this bowl season is going to be that more guys play in that game than Ohio State fans think they will. And, I think it's for all the reasons that you said. I think like a number of them don't want the last time they played for Ohio State to be a loss to Michigan. I think they want to go out on a higher note. And a number of them want to put some good tape out there for the NFL. They feel like Missouri is a good matchup for them to do that. So no, I think Ohio State fans might be pleasantly surprised with the number of guys that do it. These are all individual decisions, and this stuff can change with one phone call from your agent or your doctor or whatever. But from what I've heard, the staff is expecting most everybody to be going, and that was kind of a surprising piece of information when I got that. That would really kind of got my attention, and I've heard that multiple times from multiple people inside and around the program. So for right now, that's kind of the basis on which I'm operating.
Yeah, I don't think that many guys are like surefire locks to go high. I mean, again, like, obviously Marvin's in a different scenario. Trey's a guy that I'd be shocked if he played just because of the injury history. Potential first, 2nd round pick. I mean, if Trey pops off a 4.35, a 4.38, I mean, he could easily be a late 1st round pick. Mecca is another guy that, he kind of had a Jackson Smith and Jigbeer, missed a lot of time, but if he runs well, could easily be a 1st round pick. He's a plus character kid. But the rest of the guys, I mean, like Donnie's got to have a big game. Donnie, if he wants to consider jumping, and that's like another layer to this whole thing where some of these guys that didn't have the seasons that they wanted to have, and their draft grades were a little lower than they wanted to have, I think they can be enticed to staying with an NIL package. Because I think that, it's one thing if you're like a 1st round pick and your signing bonus is $10 million if you're the 32nd pick. It's another thing if you're a 4th round pick and your signing bonus is, maybe 800, 900, maybe $1 million if you're at the top of the round. If you want to stay and jump, a few rounds and go first, 2nd round, I mean, you can make way more money. And again, like with NIL, you can kind of hedge it a little bit, and you can say, okay, well, I'll take a little bit of NIL money up front, and I'll bet on myself, and I'll go have a better year and get in better shape and just lock in and, when you're a year older, you're a year older in college. I mean, you can really dominate. I mean, you're going to be 22, 23 years old. Donnie, as a third year guy who's 20, 21, a fourth year where he's 22. I mean, he's going to be like he should be whipping guys when he's that old. You get the grown man strength going. I know for my personal progression, like from my redshirt freshman year to my redshirt senior when I was a fifth year guy, I mean, it was a much easier time to play as a fifth year guy because you're just older, stronger, wiser. Everything's just kind of turned up and cranked up a little bit. So, Nevada, we talked a lot about Cam Ward yesterday. I had an interesting conversation about Cam Ward today. I'll get into, and we brought up Michael Pratt. Michael Pratt is an interesting guy. I'm going to throw his bio up on the screen. We'll probably get some of his film down tomorrow. Michael Pratt is a kid. He's actually a South Florida Express kid, which that makes everybody's ears perk up because that's Ennis Tate, JJ Smith. We've got a lot of SFE kids that are up on the team. Michael Pratt is a guy that I think was sniffing around last year. Potentially was going to transfer last year. He stuck at Tulane, had a nice season. Big kid, 6'3", 220. Kind of a fallback guy, I feel like, if we don't get Cam Ward. What are your thoughts on Michael Pratt?
Well, I mean, if he doesn't go to the NFL, I think he'd be a heck of a get for Ohio State. I mean, you're talking about a guy that can make all the throws. As you said, it's down at Tulane, but in his 4 years career, I want to clarify this is for 4 years, but he's rushed for 1,147 yards, which is net of sack yards in there, and 28 rushing TDs. So on top of being a more than capable passer, this is a guy who can move, run, dual threat guy, high character guy, experienced guy, seen it all. Would be excited to have him. I mean, Pratt and Ward to me are 1 and 1A, and either one of those guys I think are more than capable of getting it done. And you know, um, I think Ward's got the inside track. I think that's probably the horse that I'm betting on right now. But if Pratt decides to forego the NFL and decides to go to college, that would not be a bad fallback position at all, and be a kid I'd be excited to have.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I feel like Ward is the guy that we're kind of all in on, and I had a really interesting conversation today. So I called Jim Trussell. It's his birthday today. And this isn't a name drop, but Trussell's like my dad, so he's 71 today. So I gave him a quick call, and I was talking about the quarterback position, because he's a quarterback guy. I mean, Truss is like he was always kind of like the quarterback coach when he was the head coach, kind of like Ryan. And I was like, I think we're gonna get the Cam Ward kid, and he's like, it's interesting because he saw him play. He said he's the second best quarterback he's ever seen play in Youngstown State's stadium. So, Truss was the president, 3-4 years ago. And this kid came up and he was playing for a school called Incarnate Word, a little small school. And he said he was incredible. He was really good. And this is 3 years ago. So obviously he's grown a tremendous amount in that time. But he said that the only quarterback that he saw that was better than him in Youngstown Stadium was Steve McNair when he was at Alcorn State. So this is, that's going back to the mid 90s, 94, 95 ish. But that was kind of an interesting antidote from Truss because, I mean, I wasn't even sure trusting who this guy was. He's kind of been out of the game for 10 years, but he remembered this kid and he remembered him when he was young. And he thinks that he might've been like a walk-on, or he was kind of like he wasn't like a real heralded guy, but when he played Youngstown State, he carved him up and he was really good. So that was kind of one of those funny, interesting things where I called him and we talked for about 20 minutes about, the team and the Michigan game and, getting ready for the bowl game and NIL. And, Truss is he's like Confucius when it comes to talking about like the state of the game and all the craziness going on. So it's always good to kind of pick his brain. Nevada, again, I think you and I are in agreement that Ward is the plan A guy. I'll throw in some of his film. Do you still feel that way? Again, there's smoke around Oregon. There's smoke around a lot of folks right now. But do you think that this is still our plan A guy?
Well, I mean, Oregon, just got Dylan Gabriel or whatever it was from Oklahoma. So, he ain't going to Oregon. I can tell you that. And everything that I've heard from inside the agent community, and that's primarily where I'm getting in on this one, is saying Ohio State. And they're all saying that it's a done deal. So we will see. I don't have that from Ohio State side, but for the agent side, they think he's going to be a Buckeye. And they're all super bullish on him. They think that, he did a lot with very little.
Yeah.
And people could talk about the fumbles and it was just they're like, look, he was playing at Washington State.
Yeah.
Man, and Washington State is not a place that you go. You're outmanned in every single game you're playing, and you're playing good teams. I mean, Washington State, you're playing USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington and Arizona, and you're playing Utah. So you've got some good games and thing, and you're playing with nobody. So you're having to do it by yourself. And he said he was super productive. Always positive, always had great body language. Real leader out there in the field, real inspirational kid. So until I hear otherwise, I'm thinking he's going to be a Buckeye.
Yeah, I think when sometimes when teams evaluate quarterbacks, like I think guys get docked if they're at a place like Ohio State because the infrastructure is so good, as opposed to being some like Washington State where you got to go play Oregon and Washington with much lesser talent, much lesser linemen. It's tough. Got a couple of super chats. Francis Plum, Stallions use SOF Intel methods in football. I am not sure what that means, but I'm gonna have to Google that after the show. So thanks for the deuce, Francis Plum, and deuce again. CJ Barnett knows about it. Well, hopefully they're using that against it. The Michigan thing is crazy. Again, I think there's going to be more. There's going to be some real interesting stuff that comes out. I think that Jay Harbaugh is going to get cooked. I got some new information today. We'll probably go through tomorrow. But yeah, I think Michigan is. There's a lot of paper trails. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't been revealed yet. But the NCAA knows it, and I'm telling you, they're going to do a real thorough investigation. And this is kind of like bringing like a federal like RICO indictment against like the mafia. Like they want to make sure that they have this thing like lock, stock, and barrel before they bring it. This is not going to be like some thing where things get leaked and it's kind of ham-handed and they do a little bit and then whatever. Like they want to have everything ready to go. So when they present it and they present the punishment, then it's bulletproof. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Michigan looks like at this time next year. I think that, again, it all makes sense now why Jim Harbaugh interviewed with the Vikings on National Signing Day 2 years ago, and he's interviewing with the Broncos and any team that would take an interview, the last couple of years. Because I could never understand why a guy who's a Michigan man, played for Bo Schembechler, and he's dying to get out of Michigan, and Michigan they've been good the last years. I mean, they've won 3 straight Big Ten titles at this point. But he's dying to get out of there. And I'm like, dude, you got it like kind of rolling. So that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Another super chat, Matt Crawford, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. I like Ward, despite what I'm about to say, but how much work does Day do with his mechanics? The accuracy and power seem fine, but looks ugly as sin. I think you tinker with it a little bit. I'm sure Ryan, he has his preferences, but when a guy's a thrower, you got to kind of, work with what he's got. I mean, like Phillip Rivers had the craziest motion of all time, and he's, probably not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's going to be in the discussion for the Hall of Fame just for his longevity and how many yards and touchdowns he threw for. But, he had that wonky, crazy sidearm motion, and I'm sure every coach in the world tried to change it to a 3/4 motion. Nevada, do you think Ryan Day will tinker with Ward's mechanics?
I don't think so. Like you said, you'll probably clean up some little things, but man, that's hard to do. We've talked about this ad now. It's like messing with a goalie stance or a batter's, crouch at the batter's body. I mean, somebody just got to let guys do what they do. And I think with Ward, he's so kind of established right now in terms of his ways. And, if you have him, you're only going to have him for 1 year. So how much are you really going to be able to change him anyway? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect to see a lot of that. But I'd have to go back and watch the throw motion. It doesn't look bad. I mean, man, he gets the ball there in a hurry and he can make all the throws. So, from that standpoint, he doesn't lack the arm strength. He doesn't lack the touch. He looks like a veteran out there. But I'll have to go back and watch that a little bit more carefully.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I love. So you got a 6-man protection. Here's your running back. He gets a little chip in on the 3 technique, and then he leaks out here into the flat. And again, this is the stuff that we didn't do enough with Kyle McCord, and Kyle McCord frankly couldn't do. That is really hard to defend. I don't know how you defend this. So he steps up, looks like he's going to run. He knows where the first down marker is, the black line, and he gets right to the line. And this guy isn't disciplined. He doesn't stay with the back. He goes to come after the scam. And quarterbacks, again, I don't know how you defend this. Like this is like one of those things where do you teach him stay with the running back the whole time, or you say, hey, go tackle the guys about the scramble, and he gets to the 6 and he whips it over here. And again, this is like JJ McCarthy did this to us, and I just don't know how you defend that. So he throws it, a lot of green, a lot of grass. again, those are the things that we've lacked. We lacked with Kyle. The improvising again here, pocket breaks down. Where do you go? And then you find a guy in the back of the end zone. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I love to see. I mean, this guy is he's a kind of a freestyle kind of guy, and I think when you watch that, that's something that's been lacking from the offense. When things break down in the pocket, can he take off and run? And this guy can run. And I think that when you again, I'm not pro running quarterback. I'm pro difficult to defend. And that's the thing about, when you have a guy like this, you can only rush certain ways. And that's something that our defensive ends had to do a lot this year if there were mobile quarterbacks is they'd have to cage rush, or basically you bull rush and you keep the guy in the pocket and you don't let him scramble around like that. Cause when they do that, it's hard to defend it. It's hard to cover a guy when, they do a scramble drill and the receivers, basically the guys that are short go deep and the guys that are deep come back short. And they basically work on getting open for the quarterback. And that's tremendously difficult to try to cover. But I'm super excited about that. Nevada, as we get into bowl prep, I feel like the portal guys have declared. But what do you want to hear out of the bowl prep starting Friday? I mean, these guys are going to get after it pretty hard. I think Ryan, he's in a situation right now where there's a lot of guys that want reps. They want to kind of know they're standing on the team. And, I think that the best thing Ryan can do is just scrimmage these guys, make them fight for it, make them learn what it means to be a Buckeye, make them, kind of get after it and kind of evaluate them thoroughly going into the bowl game. But what do you want to hear out of bowl prep?
Well, I just want to hear some young guys flashing. I want to hear more about Jermaine Matthews, and I want to hear more about Malik Hartford. I want to hear more about C.J. Hicks and Jelani Thurman and Noah Rogers and Brandon Innes. You know what I'm saying? I just want to hear about the young guys. We always talk about showtime being during the bowl prep for these young guys when they have a chance to kind of show out and do their things. And that's always been a pretty good indicator of who was going to kind of make a big jump the next year. Is which names were you hearing from showtime? And that's really what I'm going to be keeping a careful ear out for, to see which of the young guys is kind of stepping up, especially in a year, where you've got kind of unprecedented number of kids to the portal. You've got kids going to NFL entrance. You may potentially kids sitting out. So there's going to be ample opportunity for these young guys to get it done, and lots of places there's going to be a lot of open spots next year especially on the defensive side. So I want to watch the young players, but specifically the young defensive players, to see who's stepping up.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's going to be interesting because again, I feel better about the situation in terms of opt-outs after today. Now I can say this, and you guys can nail me to the cross if all of a sudden we have 20 guys opt out of the game. But I think that there's a lot of guys that they want to make a statement for the draft. Because again, if you're a great player like JT Tuimoloau or Mike Hall or one of these guys, what better statement could you make than blowing up a bowl game and dominating? I mean, because again, skill guy, good receiver. But generally we don't recruit against Missouri. So I think that, as we get into this, I think, Devin Brown has just a massive amount at stake now that he's going to be the QB1. It looks like, I don't know if Ryan will rotate Lincoln. I doubt it, but Devin's got, a chance to win this job, and if we do get a portal kid, then, if Devin wants to really up his ante on the market, go ball out, go throw for 400 yards, go get 4 touchdowns, go, be the guy that everybody thought you'd be coming out of camp. And you didn't really get a ton of reps, I mean, he had some games where he played and he was okay, and I think that he showed some athletic ability. But again, it's hard when you have only so many reps in a game because you kind of want to press it. You kind of want to, you want to, almost do too much because you have such a small window to make an impact on the game. And I think that that's something that Devin might have struggled with, because I mean, he missed some throws. I think he had some anxiety. Again, and he's also a year younger than Kyle, so he's only a redshirt freshman. So, he wanted to really make a statement. And again, I think that sometimes you play a little tight. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with a full body of work. Again, we won't lose any offensive linemen, so we'll have the full offensive line. Because a guy like Matt Jones can't opt out. I mean, he's a late round pick if he gets drafted at all. Being a 6-year guy who had a nice year. Donnie obviously isn't going to opt out, and the rest of the guys. So we'll have the full line. And tailback we'll have Chip. If we don't have Trey. And the receivers, if you're a guy like Tate or Ennis, man, this is the time to go make that money. I mean, if you want to go make NIL money, like go ball out in this bowl game and prove that you're the next guys. Nevada, as we get into the portal, do you think we'll be super active in the portal? We reached out to the linebacker from Maryland. I think that if there's a position that we really need to fill, linebacker is one. I think Cody Simon's kind of up in the air if he's going to come back. If Cody comes back, I think we'll be in really good shape, especially if eventually Sonny Styles moves to Will, as opposed to being the strong safety. What positions do you think we'll target, and how aggressive will we be in the portal?
I think we're going to be aggressive. I think we have to be. I mean, I think when you lose that many kids in the portal, I mean, I'm not saying you've got to replace them one for one, but you can't just have that big of a hole in your lineup, and you're not going to be able to to sustain that with just bringing in high school seniors. So I think Ohio State's. Let's put it this way: they have been more active in terms of reaching out to agents on these first few days of portal activity than I've ever seen before. So how successful will they be ultimately in terms of landing guys? Not sure, but it won't be for lack of trying because as you said, you're going to need help on the defensive line. You're going to need help at linebacker. You're always looking for a safety or an experienced guy in the defensive backfield that can help you. Offensively, if there's a big lineman that can help them, in addition to Carter Smith, you do it. You're obviously looking for a quarterback. That you're looking at maybe for a tight end. I mean, so you've got a lot of places that you're going, and Ohio State is certainly not being shy about reaching out in these early days of portal activity, which to me is a net positive.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we did a good job in the portal last year. I know that there were some guys we should have gotten a little bit more out of, like Taiwan Malone, but Davidson Igbinosun was a home run. I thought Josh Simmons was a plus add in the portal. Again, he's got more eligibility left, so the story on him isn't written yet. But I think like we were adequate in the portal. I think that it's different when you don't have to find a quarterback in the portal. Again, if you go back to the pre-portal era and we got Justin Fields and we're like A pluses in the portal. Jonah Jackson, some of the guys that were grad transfers. But I think that, again, the portal's the new way of life. And if you really look at the guys we lost to the portal, none of them were major impact guys other than Kyle McCord. Julian Fleming was a nice player, not an impact guy. I don't know if he had 20 catches all season, good blocker, good leader or whatever. But, I'm excited to see Tate and Ennis and especially JJ Smith. Shane H, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you. Love the content. Question I've always been curious about. When fans refer to the team as us or we, does that bother players? It honestly doesn't bother me at all. Like I always feel like, with fans, I don't even like using the word fans. I like because fans stands for fanatic. It's kind of it's a term that I don't love. I like to call people supporters. When you support the team, because I always feel like it's kind of like you're in it together. Like it's not like there's a line between the players and the fans. I feel like it's people that support us and people that come to our bowl games. The best fans in the world are the ones that go to the crappy bowl games, like the ones that go to the Cotton Bowl. Like the Cotton Bowl, when I was talking to Tress, he said it's the lowest ticket request he's ever seen, in 20 years. He was talking to a ticket guy at Ohio State, and nobody else to go to the game. And I told him, I'm like, well, it's probably because next year we got the 12-team playoff, and if there's a year to take off and save your money up, save the slush fund for Ohio State away tickets, it's this year because the Cotton Bowl is great, but next year when we're playing, potentially a home or road game, then a second round, and then you might be playing 3 playoff games next year. So, those are all expensive. I know you guys like to travel and watch Ohio State games, and they're crazy expensive. But it doesn't bug me. Like again, I always call our fans supporters because without the people that support Ohio State football is nothing. And I went on my diatribe on BuckeyeScoop.com. You guys probably saw it where. People, they get mad because people are upset and angry at the players and they say nasty things to them and death threats and that kind of thing. I'm like, well, that's kind of part of it. If we would have won and we would have, been the number 1 seed and we would have beat Alabama and we would have beat Texas or Washington and won the national title, the pendulum swings the exact other way and you're kind of a god forever. So that's something that I think that people don't understand is you can't go both ways. Nevada, what about you? Is it bug you when people say us or we or whatever? I mean, I know you weren't a player, but what are your thoughts on that?
No. I look. I think, like you said, it's the passion that sets kind of Ohio State fans apart, and it's funny because I've kind of sensed initially obviously there was disappointment about this game, but I think it's going to pick up. I think as it gets closer, people are first of all if you have not been to Jerry World, you got to go. It is a absolute iconic place to go see a football game. It's incredible. It's a world class art museum on top of everything else that they've got going on. So it's a great place to see a game. The city of Dallas couldn't be a better place to go visit for a few days. You're playing an SEC opponent in Missouri, and it's going to be fun. And I mean, short of being in the playoff, I'm excited about the game. I'm excited about the game for a lot of reasons. I'm excited about to see the young guys, to see the older guys one more time, to see it in a great venue like that. So I think as it gets closer, it's actually going to pick up, and I think this one might be turn out to be a sneaky good bowl game for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I played in, a lesser bowl game in my career at Ohio State. I played 2 national championships and then 2 Fiesta Bowls, but then we played the Alamo Bowl in '04, and we weren't real good. We were 8-4. That's an embarrassing season at Ohio State when you go 8-4. But we beat Michigan, which kind of was like the big deodorant stick on the season that made it smell good. We beat a good Michigan team that went to the Rose Bowl, and we weren't very good. But we went to that Alamo Bowl, and it was in San Antonio. And I remember, there's nothing more depressing as an Ohio State player or college football player than when you have to be in a hotel on Christmas Day. We got down there on the 22nd. I think we played on the 28th or something like that. And so we spent Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in a hotel room on the Riverwalk. And I'd never been away from my family on Christmas. And obviously, I saw, I don't ever want to do this again. And now this is obviously pre-playoffs. With the playoffs now, if you're on a good team, you're going to be, in Miami or at the Rose Bowl or whatever to get ready for the first round of the playoffs, because that's usually on New Year's Eve or the 29th or 30th or whatever it falls in on the calendar. But, when we were at that Alamo Bowl, I was so mad that I was away from my family at Christmas that I was well, let's take it out on Oklahoma State. We were at Pat O'Brien's drinking Hurricanes on Christmas and watching the James Bond marathon on Spike TV because there was nothing to do. I mean, everything's closed and everyone's miserable. And thank God Pat O'Brien's was open because that was about the only thing there was to do. But, it was fun because our fans traveled. And again, our supporters, I don't, when people say us and we, I don't mind it. As long as you guys are paying attention and you guys are watching the content and you're on BuckeyesScoop.com and you follow Ohio State, that's why we, can be what we are, is because people care and they have passion and they get upset when we lose and they go kind of off the ledge a little bit. And I love it. I embrace it. I think it's great. I think the bigger the fanatic you are, the better. Again, I appreciate all the support, on our site, on our channel. Because without you guys, we're talking to each other. We don't have an audience of 1,400 people like we do watching us live. So again, all you guys that think you're a little crazy or a little wild, or, you name your dog Archie, Brutus, or Woody or whatever, I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. I appreciate it. And don't worry if you call it us or them or we or whatever, I'm good with all of it. Because again, if we don't have you guys, then we're Akron or we're Kent or we're, Purdue or, a lesser team, and nobody cares about those guys. Go check out how many websites cover Purdue football or Indiana football. They might have one, they might have 2 people on the beat. We've got 30 websites that cover Ohio State football that all make it because our fan base is so fanatical. So again, I love it. Don't ever change. For the love of God, please don't ever change. Keep supporting Ohio State football and being passionate about it, because that's what sets it apart. There's my diatribe. I'm going to go to Pedro's Lucario. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the deuce. Kyle never made some of the crazy throws that Ward has. Again, I love Ward's game. The more I've been watching his film all day, I got some all 22 film of him, and I'm really, really excited about this guy. And again, he's not throwing to Marvin and Emeka or Cornell and Brandon. He's throwing to just guys, and when he gets real dudes, I think he's going to be really good. Nevada, do you agree that Ward's got a little bit more in the repertoire than Kyle McCord?
Well, he's definitely different. And, you also remember he's not playing behind a line like Ohio State's either. So it's not just a skilled position. It's the guys up front. So, I mean, he's literally at a disadvantage in, probably 10 or 11 of their 12 games. Every year they're at a talent disadvantage against their opponents. It's the exact polar opposite of what you are when you're at Ohio State. So, I think fans should just not judge him quite so harshly based solely on the stats, but go back and watch what he can do, and then just kind of imagine what he could do, surrounded by better talent. And it's pretty exciting to think about.
Yeah, this popped up on my feed, and this is kind of crazy if this shows up. Kyle McCord met with Nebraska today. I know Matt Rule's an NFL guy and a QB guy. Of course, this isn't popping up like it's supposed to, but That's kind of surprising to me. I know Nebraska's got a lot of money. I mean, that's the thing. People don't realize, like, Nebraska's got a lot of money. And I know that they offered Dylan Rail a package that would, kill an elephant. But, you know, to go to Nebraska would be wild. I'm sure that's probably not where he's going to end up, but I'm sure he wants to meet and kind of feel out the offers. And, Matt Rule's an NFL guy. And, he did wonders at Baylor. He stunk at Carolina. Does that surprise you that Kyle McCord is actually meeting with Nebraska, Nevada?
No, I mean, to me, that's kind of where he should probably be looking. Nebraska, Rutgers, and any of those kind of places. I mean, look, Kyle was the 13th ranked quarterback in the country last year by QBR. I mean, he wasn't bad. I mean, this was not Joe Bowserman that we're talking
Yeah.
about here, and so um, he was one throw away from legendary status. I always laugh when we talk about Craig Krenzel, and Craig Krenzel's kind of on the pantheon of great quarterbacks, and he was 4 for 14 in regulation against Miami, 7 for 21 on the game, but he completed that one 4th and 14 to Jenkins, kept the drive alive,
Huh.
kept things going, but like, what if Jenkins drops that? If Jenkins drops that ball, then he's a bum,
Yeah.
So, it's, I think if you look at the body of work on Kyle, he was good. I mean, he was good. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. But he was a far stretch away from being bad. So, um, no, Nebraska doesn't surprise me. Actually, that seems like a good fit. Just to my untrained eye.
No, I totally agree. Jeff Rittenhouse, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Cam Ward's ball placement is light years above Kyle McCord's. The accuracy killed his yards after catch. Um, you know, I like it. I like everything this kid does. Like, I'm gonna go back and watch a little bit more film of him right now. This is a nice play action fake. Again, my thing is on the fritz, so I'm trying to get this thing cranked back up again. So I apologize. I don't think it's working. So I'll go back. There we go. There we go. So we got our boy. And this is a run. So this isn't even ball placement, but like, this is what we talk about. Like, when you want to talk about hard to defend in the red zone, this. You got guys that are, these guys have to make a decision. He's got to figure out if he wants to come off and go get the quarterback or stick with his guy. I mean, this guy's leaving his zone. And then he's just fearless. He jumps in, gets the touch. Again, like, I love that because that is so hard to go against. When a guy has got the wheels and he's got the juice to do that, again, play action pass, again, skating around, another rushing touchdown. Again, this is like, just, it almost makes me weep because this is so easy. This is free money. These guys are all dropping off into zones. He's checking him, and then all of a sudden, there's a lot of green. This is what we call free money on Buckeye Scoop. There's a lot
No,
of free
Kirk,
money right
Kirk,
here.
Kirk, 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 I got a question for you, and I'm
What's
I'm,
up?
I'm being serious. What what is a rushing touchdown for a quarterback? I'm not familiar with that.
I know we haven't had one. We
What?
haven't had one from. You said we haven't had one from QB1 in like 3 years, right?
Yeah, it's been 3 full seasons without a rushing touchdown from the quarterback position. Which, what type of prop bet could you got on that? That Ohio State would not have a rushing touchdown out of their quarterback one for 3 years. I mean, 50,000 to 1 or something. I mean, like,
Yeah,
that's just it's an impossible stat.
easily. Here, the O line gets bunched up on. They do a little twist stunt here. The end comes inside. It's basically a free guy. And this is something Kyle struggled with. He did not have the agility and the mobility to step around here. And again, this is you can drill this, but this is also kind of a sixth sense where he kind of steps around this guy and then laces it to a wide open guy running an alley route. And I'm just telling you, like, that's the kind of stuff that drives the defense crazy. Because, like, if you're the D coordinator and you're watching that in the press box and you're like, oh, we got him, perfect stunt, our end is scot free, and then the guy steps around it and then he laces it for 40 yards, like, that's demoralizing. And I'm telling you, like, I've seen it, I've heard it, I've sat in the press box next to coordinators when guys make plays like that, and it takes you out of the balloon, because I'm telling you, that's the difference between good and great and beating Michigan, not beating Michigan. It's those little plays like that where, Kyle probably gets sacked there. I mean, he probably, because he's got lead feet, and I know he had bad ankles and whatever, but, he couldn't maneuver like that. And I played with Troy, and I mean, Troy Smith was the master of either taking the free money or stepping around and lacing something like that. We got some more questions. Thank you, James. Appreciate you, my man. James Jennings the third. I love that. Thanks for the 5. Parents bought me a ticket for the Sugar Bowl for Christmas. Can't wait to see my Bucks at AT&T. I assume you mean the Cotton Bowl. Live 1 hour from Dallas and never been to Jerry's World. Jerry's World is awesome, and there are some awesome restaurants in Dallas. I think ones like Nick and Sam's. There's some great steakhouses. Like some of the best in the world are in Dallas. So Dallas is an awesome city. So you guys that are going are going to have a blast. I went to the national championship and I went to the Cotton Bowl when SC played there. It's a palace of a stadium. It makes me wish that we could turn the Horseshoe into Jerry's World because it's just so nice and convenient. And Nevadabuck, I mean, you and I went to the national championship game together in 14 against Oregon, and I remember we got into the stadium like 3 hours beforehand because it was freezing outside. So, if you guys are going and you're planning on tailgating, if it's as cold as it was, when we played the Ducks, get in the stadium early because it's nice and warm in the stadium. It was freezing outside. But you talked about Dallas. I mean, I think it could be the best venue in sports. I have not been to the Vegas stadium. I think Vegas is probably the only one that will top it for me. But Jerry World's legit, correct?
Yeah, I mean, SoFi in LA and the Vegas State Allegiant in Vegas are crazy. But Jerry's World is kind of the original modern stadium, the Megatron scoreboard, which you just can't keep your eyes off of. And like I said, Dallas is just such a great town, and so many Ohio State fans down in Dallas. I mean, it'll be packed with Ohio State fans, despite the maybe tepid interest for right now. I guarantee you'll be around thousands and thousands and thousands of Ohio State fans. They'll take over every bar, every restaurant. It'll just be a great time. I mean, I'm tempted to go down myself. I think I might have some other kid sports commitments that are going to keep me from doing it, but otherwise I'd be there for sure. Really excited about the game.
No, I am too. Brandon J, appreciate you. I met your wife in the airport 5, 6 years ago. She was carrying your son. Biggest infant I've ever seen. Yes, he's not getting any smaller, and I have to feed him every night. So that is why I appreciate your super chats very much because I can add another patty to my kid's Whopper, double Whopper with cheese he's eating as a 6-year-old. Future Buckeye, what other positions do we need in the portal? Running back, O-line, linebacker. It's interesting you name those positions because to me, it's probably the most expensive position that you can get, but defensive end and depending on what Jack Sawyer does, because I think JT's out the door, D tackle, D end. Like we need impact guys at those spots. There's been, Walter Nolan is kind of a pipe dream. If I played NCAA 14 and had an NIL budget, like the new Xbox NCAA game is going to come out, and I'm sure there's going to have NIL inducements on it. So I'd empty the chamber and try to get Walter Nolan, but I think he's not in the cards for us. But I think you need to impact guys up front on defense. I think the O-line will be fine. Again, we've got a lot of guys back. I think there's a decent shot Donnie comes back, provided we get him in the NIL package because that's kind of part of the deal now. It's like if you want a guy to come back, you got to pay him a little bit of money, and I think Donnie didn't really have that great of a season, so. I think that he needs to take a step to really solidify his NFL draft position. You got Carson back, you got Josh Simmons back, you got Josh Fryer back. I think Josh kicks into guard. I think that there's going to be an open audition with Luke Montgomery, George Fitzpatrick. If we do get Carter Smith, who I don't know if we're going to go on Carter Smith. That's the latest I heard today. But I think that there's going to be kind of open auditions. If by some miracle we get Jordan Seaton, who looks like he's leaning towards Tennessee. He could end up at right tackle. I think that replenishing the D line is what I'm most worried about. Linebacker, I don't care because we have CJ Hicks. We've got Sonny. If Sonny Styles moves down to Will, Gabe Powers, we got a bunch of young blood there. If Cody Simon comes back, I'll feel great about linebacker. But you can always use more guys. If we could get a big time wide receiver, that would help with Julian walking out the door. Julian is really confusing to me because if he came back next year as a 5th-year receiver at Ohio State, he'd be the wide receiver 1. You'd think he would be, just out of loyalty from Brian Hartline and Ryan Day, but he decided to go seek greener pastures. And I know that he got offered some huge NIL money. Again, I don't know if that's based on his production or if that's based on his ranking from 3 years ago when he was the #1 player in the country. So it'll be really fascinating to see how this pans out. Nevada, what positions do you believe that we need the most in the portal?
Well, first of all, I'm going to stake my claim right now for the chairman, the conductor of the Gabe Powers Express right now. So I'm starting that one up I'm going to be the official first member, and people are welcome to jump aboard. But I'm telling you, that's my dude. That guy is going to be a ball player at Ohio State. I'm just telling you, he's got everything that you want in a young defensive player, and reminds me of some of the great linebackers that runs around. And if he can stay healthy, man, he plays the game the way that I like to see the game played. So I am the official conductor on that, and feel free to put in the comments if you're on board with that one, because Nevadabuck is accepting reservations. So, but no, I think you got it. Defensive line. We need some impact, an impact defensive end, a pass rusher. If you could find a guy that's a pass rushing specialist, a guy that's been able to get after the quarterback at some smaller school, I mean, that could make a heck of a difference for Ohio State right now. I think we'll be able to plug the other spots, but that's a special skill that either you have or you don't have. And right now, I'm not sure if we have that guy in our lineup or on a roster. And if you can go out and find some guy who's got 20, 24, 25 career sacks, shove him in there and see what he can do. That's where I'd be spending my money for sure.
Yeah, it kind of killed me watching Jared Verse, who's an Ohio kid, play for Florida State and dominate versus Louisville. When I'm like, God, he would look good in our rotation because he's a guy that's probably gonna be a first round pick. I mean, if you had him, JT, and Jack, I don't know how you'd stop all three of them. I think the hardest part about this year with JT and Jack is that they didn't get a lot of help from Kenyatta and Caden Curry. Like those guys are young guys. Um, they didn't really feel like they're ready to play, and maybe that's on Larry Johnson that he didn't rotate the young guys in more, but they didn't feel like those guys could hold up versus Michigan and versus Notre Dame. So, the craziest thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life is that Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau played every single snap versus Notre Dame, and they're not playing offensive line. Like offensive linemen play every snap. Like defensive linemen rotate in and out of the game constantly because it's a demanding position. You have to run to the ball. You're getting drilled. You're getting double teamed and whatever. Go watch the Browns. Like Myles Garrett rotates in and out of the game. Nick Bosa rotates in and out of the game. So even if you're superhuman like Myles Garrett, he still rotates in and out of the game to get some oxygen and get back in the game and stay fresh. But when we really needed it, like we didn't really have anybody that could rotate in for Jack and JT. I think we put Kenyatta in for one play against Michigan, and it wasn't pretty, and had to throw the old guys back out there. So I think we got to find more depth on the D line to help those guys out if either or both of those guys come back. Judge of the Torah, my man, I appreciate you, brother, so much for supporting the channel. You are the absolute best. Thank you for the 20. What's up, Kirk? Just noticed you were live. I'm on my way to Buffalo. Drive safe. If it's cold and snowy, it's getting a little cold in Ohio. To the Seneca tribe, I just wanted to say your insight and your connections are phenomenal. You've been right about everything you say. Don't jinx me because I'll probably have 25 guys opt out tomorrow, and Ryan Day will go to the Patriots, and a meteor will hit the Woody Hayes, and there won't be a bowl game. So don't jinx me. I appreciate the kind words. Nevada, you got some words for Tora. He's our biggest patron on this channel right now, so we appreciate you, my man.
Yeah, and I just appreciate the support. It makes it so much fun. I mean, Kirk and I genuinely look forward to this. Is like the funnest part of my day. I got a lot of other businesses and stuff that I'm involved in, but I absolutely look forward to doing this because this is just so much fun, and having great people like that on the site makes it even funner. So thank you sincerely from the bottom of our heart.
Yeah. Paige Zachario, you dug up the stats on our boy Cam Ward. 2 years, 202 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, but a .9 average. So again, I'd love to see the sack totals because again, when you get sacked in college football, it comes off the rushing yards, not the passing yards like in the NFL. So I'm sure, given I've watched a couple hours of his film, his O-line is not good. They're terrible actually. So I'm sure my dude is trying to make plays and he's getting sacked a lot. He will not get touched nearly as much as Ohio State. But any concerns with that, Nevada?
Well, no, like you said, it's sacked. When you take out the sack yard, I guarantee I'll take 2 seconds, go to cfbstats.com, look at the number of sacks that he had, and add that back to the rushing yards. I mean, 13 TDs in the past 2 years. Like we couldn't use another 13 TDs. I mean, and I guarantee every single one of those was on a third down or around the goal line or something like that. Where's Ohio State struggled? Where have we had trouble? Short yardage around the goal line. I mean, it's not a mystery. The quarterback run solves not all your problems, but a lot of your problems, especially if you're having problems in short yardage, especially if you're having problems around the goal line. Think about how efficient we were when JT Barrett was running. As much as people hated on JT, and that's okay, man, when there was a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 or we were on the goal line, there was nobody else that you wanted running that zone read stuff than JT. And he would just walk in the end zone time. And what do you have, 128 touchdowns or whatever it was
Yeah.
that he accounted for? I mean, it was some absurd number. That's what you need. And so, yeah, like even if it was zero point 0.9 yards per carry, I think this year Kyle McCord had like a minus 166 or something like that. So either way, it's a net positive over what we had. So I'll take it.
Yeah. See, he laces this right here. And Arizona State's not great. Obviously, they're 1-6, but that's a dime right there, man. I'm telling you, this guy, and he's throwing to guys that aren't. This isn't, Carnell and Innis and the guys that he'll be working with, but he's just a nice, easy thrower, man. I mean, he gets it, and mechanics are smooth, relaxed, he laces it. And again, I know this is a bad team. I get it. It's Arizona State. They're 1-6 or whatever, but you can only play who's on the schedule. You don't get to create the schedule when you're a player, but I love little movement plays like this where this is a play action. They fake the stretch. They fake kind of, they call this the old truck play where you've got the tackle. Truck means like the tackle's pulling. You got the little seal here. But when you pull guys in play action, like if you pull a tackle front side, it's great for play action fakes because the safeties and the linebackers, when they see a guy pulling, they automatically assume it's a run. So you see the linebackers moving with the puller immediately, and this is just a nice easy throw. You got your 3-level concept. You got here, he's going to cross in here. You got your little dump off here, curls right in there. Like that's just easy money. And again, like that's not hard. And the beauty about a play like this with this kind of play action, it's almost like a naked play where really none of there's only one offensive line that has to block anybody. Him. He's the only guy that has to block everybody. Everybody else is kind of pulling out here to draw the defense. So you block like one guy, and you get a nice easy completion for 10 yards, 12 yards, a little yard after catch. So it's a 25-yard play where you block one guy, and it's basically a pitch and catch between the receiver and the quarterback. And like I think that with his mobility and his ability to get on the edge, like it's just something that we've lacked. Oh my God, is this a Houdini? I think I got a Houdini for you. Holy cow. I got to show this next one. But Nevada, like that's something I just think that we just haven't had. And CJ drives me crazy because CJ obviously is top 2-3 in the NFL MVP race right now, but like he just wouldn't run. And I think it was coming down as a directive from Ryan to protect yourself and get to the NFL and don't take hits and whatever. But like he runs with the Texans. I mean, he had like 50 rushing yards 2 weeks ago and a rushing touchdown. He was their leading rusher. I'm going to show this. This is the old magic Houdini, so it's like, watch this. So again, he's got a terrible offensive line. Stanford usually has decent guys. This is not the vintage Stanford when Harbaugh was in there real good, but I mean, this O-line's terrible. So, you see guys, he's gripped up and, again, he's a tough dude. He's fighting. Look at this. And he gets away. And, his linemen are trying to help him. And again, like, I mean, that's like Troy Smith versus Penn State in 06. I mean, this is like one of those ones where if you're on Stanford's sideline or you're their D coordinator up in the box and you're like, okay, we're home free. We got free with this stunt and we got 2 guys grabbing him. And again, I'd cut his shirt tail off so that he's not getting grabbed by it, but that's amazing. And I just feel like that's something that we've lacked with Kyle, and to a lesser degree CJ, but CJ had Dewan in Paris. So I mean he wasn't getting touched up that much. But I think that it's one of those things where, his ability to escape and move is something that I think will be a huge add to the offense. And frankly, like when you need it the most, man, that's when it shows up. Like when you're playing Michigan, you're playing a great team, you've got to be able to create and find yards in plays that are kind of unconventional. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, and I mean, look, let's be honest. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on. We've talked about this before, but I'll say it for the final time. That's kind of what Devin Brown does. Devin Brown led the quarterback derby for a good portion of fall camp. And, I think the last quarter, Kyle played better and Ryan made a tough decision and went with him, but it was close. And Devin is an athletic guy. He likes to run around. He likes to make plays. He likes to try to get make things happen. And I think it's going to be fun to see what he does in the bowl game because, like you said, he's going to be trying to audition for either the Buckeyes or for somebody else. But I think you're going to see some of that Houdini act out there against Missouri because Devin likes to run around and he likes to make plays.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we are at about an hour. See if we got any more super chats. Got a lot of questions on here. Appreciate you guys all being on here. Yeah, I think Ward's the guy. I think Ennis is going to be good in the bowl game. Nevada, gun to your head, is Cam Ward better than Devin Brown? That's a great question.
Well, I'd say that he's proven more. I mean, he's done more.
Oh, yeah.
He's done it against real teams, and so from that standpoint, I'm always a big believer in proven over unproven. And that's certainly not discounting Devin Brown because I'm as high in Devin Brown as anybody. But those are one of those tough calls. But gun to my head for 1 year, I'd go with the guy that's done it before, and that would be Cam.
I totally agree. I think that it's, when a guy's played that much football, again, Trust remembered him from years ago at Incarnate Words. I mean, this is 3-4 years ago. I mean, so he's played a lot of ball. And, Devin, great in high school, played a little bit this year. But, if you go with a proven guy, I think it's worth doing. I mean, this guy waxed Luke Fickell. I mean, when Wisconsin played Washington State, it was a massacre. I remember watching that game late night, and I was kind of rooting for Luke, and it was real ugly real quick. Well, you want to wrap this thing up, Nevada? Is it about that time?
I think it could be about that time.
All right. Let's get it. So,
hold on.
This is going to be one of those funny things, but the Nevadabuck reveal is here. And there's Nevadabuck, our horse. Or is that? It looks like a camel because it's like the screen is not big enough, but Nevadabuck has been revealed. He's actually a giraffe or a horse. Is that a horse? Is that what you actually are?
It's hard. You guys have no idea how difficult it is broadcasting in this thing the whole time, but this is why my voice sounds so muffly. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, but Nevadabuck reveal. We promised it on the 25,000th number. We're delivering. Thank you guys for all your support. My tribute to Nicole Arbach. Hello.
The horse face? Rebecca Lobo?
From one horse to another.
That's our horse face. I actually got a night skin or a night king mask I was gonna wear, but yeah, he wanted to do the horse head. So Nevadabuck has been revealed. He is a horse. Some of you guys will think he's a horse's behind, but it's all good. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, Smoking. He looks like Joe the Camel. Exactly. That's perfect. He's Joe Campbell. So appreciate you guys so much. As always, we always like to have a lot of fun on here. Thank you guys for patronizing us. As always, it's just an absolute blast to kick it with you guys every night. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for all you guys do. Why the long face? I know, I love it. That's perfect. He does look like a camel, so we're going to go with that. But if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Shout out to all my people watching in Southern Ohio, Portsmouth, down on the river. I'm going to come to the river soon. I can't wait. So I hope you guys are enjoying this content. Shout out to all my Ohio people, Northeast Ohio, down south, out west, up northwest. Appreciate all of my Ohio folk and Florida, Texas, California. Shout out where you guys are watching from. As always, again, it's always so fun to see where you guys are at and see how much this show has grown. As always, if you guys want the latest and greatest in Ohio State news, inside information, buckeyescoop.com. We broke the Kyle McCord thing on Sunday night. Everybody else had it on Monday morning, so that was a nice little feather in our cap. We've got a lot more stuff we're going to be breaking over the next few weeks. Got a lot of really good eyeballs checking out the team. So appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And again, as always, sorry Nevada, he had such a long face, but he got revealed tonight. So as always, thank you Buckeye Nation. Thank you Scoop family. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.